I'm in an accident, I was out on the clock, I was working, and I'm involved in an auto accident, and it's not my fault. Is there any other way to compensate?
Well, I mean, you might be in luck, because if you are on the clock, then you probably have workers' compensation available. That obviously depends on each employer, but if you are on the clock for any type of legitimate work, you're probably going to have workers' compensation covered. And if that does happen, the first thing that you need to do is obviously get medical treatment, but you need to let your employer know. You need to make that report to the employer.
Because there's a limited time within which you have to report it.
Right, you have to report it within 30 days. If you don't, you could be barred from bringing a workers' compensation claim. So these are things that we all look into. We'll look to, as Trent said, we'll look into whether they were working, whether they have UM coverage, whether there's assets. We'll do the full investigation, but yeah, that is a good point.
And if I have workers' compensation, if it covers, why is it important to speak to an attorney?
You want to speak to an attorney, and as soon as you can, because there are lots of rights that you give up as the time continues on. So the sooner that you are in touch with your attorney, and the more details that you can provide them. We have cases where I was in a car accident, I ran into a tree. Well, at first blush, that doesn't sound like there's anything but we can really do for you. Now, if you have an open and honest, frank conversation with your attorney and let them know, hey, listen, my employer had sent me here, there was a car who ran me off the road, I ran into the tree, I didn't get that car's information.
Right, one important thing with workers' comp is fault doesn't come into play. So even if you are working and you crash into a tree or it's your own fault, you should still be covered as long as you follow the guidelines and make that reporting immediately and follow the other advice that your attorney gives you.
And that's why it's so important to be open and frank and honest with your attorney, even if at first, hey, this doesn't sound good for me. It sounds like I might have been the one at fault. Maybe I shouldn't tell him about that. We as attorneys, everything you say to us is going to be privileged and confidential. So nothing that you say is going to hurt you. It's only going to help you, because there's around this table decades of experience of dealing with these matters, and the more information that we have, the better advice that we can give to you.
Yeah, that's a great bit of advice, Trent, because the worst thing a client can do is hire us as lawyers and then cherry pick that which they share with us, because they've determined that only the good stuff is good for us to know, and they conceal what they perceive to be the bad stuff. And they may have the best of intentions, but the road to hell was paved with good intentions, right? So the reality is they need to fess up the good and the bad. They cannot conceal anything from us, because the moment they do, it's going to backfire on them in the future. And we as lawyers we absolutely hate
Getting blindsided.
Getting blindsided when we get caught up in the middle of a deposition or something. The other side knows all about it. We don't know it because, unfortunately, our own client failed to share it with us, and now all of a sudden what we thought was a $500,000 case just became a $50,000 case because they lied to us.
And it's important to note that these insurance companies, because before coming to this side, I worked for insurance companies. They have databases.
That's exactly right.
For every accident that you've ever been in.
Every claim
that you've ever been in. So if you think, well, that happened, 10 years ago, no one will really know about it. These attorneys won't know about it. The other side won't find out about it. Guess what? Those insurance companies, they pool their resources together. They have that information. So eventually it will come out.
No doubt.
The worst part about not being honest with your attorney is it affects our ability to help them with their case. We're
Correct.
Here to help them.
Right. We're not the enemy.
Exactly. So if they don't give us information that's going to affect their case or could affect their case negatively, that's on them. That hurts them. That affects our ability to help them with their case. So.
Yeah.